On this journey through the story of Sarah, a woman whose faith led her to face extraordinary challenges, we will learn about her life as told in the Bible. From his departure from the homeland with Abraham, until the miraculous birth of Isaac at the age of 90. Sarah embodies courage, perseverance, and unwavering faith. This moving story reveals not only the life of a matriarch, but also the values and complexities of an ancient time, in which Sarah and Abraham follow God's call into the unknown. Let's delve deeper into the pages of the Holy Book and discover Sarah's legacy together. Sarah, a very holy woman as the Bible says, made an incredible journey of faith with her husband. They left the place where they lived to follow what God wanted for them. Sarah had problems because she was unable to have children for many years. But when she was 90, God blessed her, and she was able to get pregnant. Sarah was married to Abraham and mother of Isaac. Her story is in the Old Testament of the Bible, mainly in the book of Genesis. In this video, we will talk more about who Sarah was and what the Bible says about her. The name Sarah in Hebrew means princess. But before she was called Sarah, Abraham's wife was known as Sarai. The meaning of this name is somewhat disputed. If it is based on Hebrew, it also means princess. Some interpreters propose that, unlike Sarah, Sarai may have a specific emphasis, suggesting, my princess. However, if the name Sarai is derived from Akkadian, then its meaning could be, queen. Many scholars think that the name, Sarai, was linked to idol worship common in ancient Mesopotamia. If true, Sarai may be related to the companion goddess of the moon god Sin, worshipped in the city of Ur. However, it is important to remember that when God made a covenant with Abraham, he changed their names. Abram became Abraham, and Sarai was renamed Sarah. Sarah's story gained prominence because she was the wife of Abraham, the chief patriarch of the Israelites. Sarah was about 10 years younger than Abraham. The Bible also reveals that, in addition to being Abraham's wife, Sarah was his half-sister on her father's side, presented as the daughter of Terah, according to Genesis chapter 20, verse 12. This information has led to much academic debate over its correct interpretation. Some argue that Sarah was Terah's adopted daughter, possibly his granddaughter, while others maintain that she was his biological daughter. Most Christian scholars of the Old Testament interpret that Sarah was in fact the daughter of Terah and therefore the half-sister of Abraham. It is crucial to note here that the law prohibiting this type of relationship did not exist during the time of Abraham. It was decreed only for the Israelites centuries later. Therefore, in the context of Abraham's time, such a union was common. When God called Abraham, Sarah followed him, leaving with him from Ur of the Chaldeans, passing through Haran, and finally settling in the land of Canaan. Sarah's name change, from Sarai to Sarah, occurred when she was 90 years old. The story of Sarah and Abraham continues in Egypt, where, due to a famine in the land of Canaan, the couple sought refuge. This event is documented in chapter 12 of the book of Genesis. At that time, Sarah was between 65 and 66 years old. Despite her advanced age, Sarah was extraordinarily beautiful, which led Abraham to fear for her life and request that she only introduce herself as his sister in Egypt. Sarah's beauty attracted the attention of both the Egyptians and the Pharaoh's princes, to the point that Pharaoh himself was attracted to her and invited her to his palace. Sarah's beauty attracted the attention of both the Egyptians and the Pharaoh's princes, to the point that Pharaoh himself was attracted to her and invited her to his palace. About 2 decades later, another similar incident occurred when Abraham again hid the truth about Sarah being his wife while they were in the land of Gerar. The Bible reports that Abraham told Abimelech, the king of Gerar, that Sarah was his sister, thus omitting the information that she was also his wife. As a result, Abimelech intended to take Sarah as one of his wives. However, before Abimelech could establish any relationship with Sarah, God warned him in a dream that Sarah was Abraham's wife. God also told Abimelech that if he did not return Sarah to Abraham, his home would face severe repercussions. As a result, Abimelech confronted Abraham, questioning him about his deceitful behavior and concealment of his marital relationship with Sarah. Afterwards, Abimelech returned Sarah to Abraham and gave him sheep, cattle, and male and female servants, potentially as a form of reparation for the wrong. This event further increased Abraham's wealth. Abraham and Sarah lived among pagan people before receiving their call from God. According to Mesopotamian laws at the time, a wife who was also a sister, and enjoyed a higher social status, was the most sacred marital bond that existed at the time. As written in Genesis 20, verse 12, Sarah was barren, a condition that caused her immense sadness. After God's promise to Abraham that he would father a child, Sarah became desperate to give him an heir. In this context, Sarah suggested that Abraham have a son with her personal servant, Hagar. Hagar was a young Egyptian woman who served Sarah. In suggesting this, Sarah was adhering to a widely accepted custom of ancient Babylon, supported by a legal code that stated that a barren wife must provide her husband with a woman to bear children on her behalf, usually a female servant. While Sarah used this legal code to facilitate her plan to give Abraham an heir, she also followed Mesopotamian laws when she severely rebuked Hagar for showing disrespect. However, when she was 90 years old, Sarah received a divine promise that she would conceive a child and become a mother of nations. The Bible reports a day when Abraham received a divine visit and asked Sarah to prepare some cakes for his heavenly guests. But upon hearing the prophecy that she would become pregnant, Sarah laughed in disbelief, considering the idea of pregnancy at her advanced age impossible. Even though Sarah denied that her laughter was a form of mockery, the Lord knew her true intentions. Sarah was rebuked by the Lord and learned that nothing is impossible with God. Her doubt was thus replaced by faith. Sarah was rejuvenated and gave birth to Isaac, the son through whom God's covenant with Abraham would be fulfilled. After Isaac's birth, Sarah had conflicts with Ishmael and Hagar during the celebration of Isaac's weaning. Sarah noticed Ishmael making fun of her son. Enraged, Sarah demanded that Hagar and Ishmael be sent away, thus ensuring that Isaac would not have to share his inheritance with his half-brother. However, although Sarah had acted in accordance with Mesopotamian laws in previous instances involving Hagar, her demand for the expulsion of Hagar and Ishmael contradicted those laws. In reality, Abraham loved Ishmael, had legally recognized him as his son, and the legal codes of the time prohibited the expulsion of a chief son born to a servant. Hagar and Ishmael left Abraham's home, but God comforted Abraham and assured him that he would care for Ishmael, for he was also his descendant. Sarah's story in the Bible concludes 127 years ago, when she was buried by Abraham in the family tomb he purchased at Machpelah, near Hebron. Interestingly, Sarah is the only woman in the Bible whose age at death is documented beyond the book of Genesis. Sarah is mentioned in chapter 51 of the book of Isaiah, portrayed as a symbol of trust in God and as the one who gave birth to the Israelite people. In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul mentioned Sarah on two separate occasions in his letter AUS Romans, specifically in chapters 4 and 9. Paul portrayed Sarah's barrenness as a challenge to Abraham's faith and included the couple among those whose faith was considered righteousness. Furthermore, Paul portrayed Sarah as the mother of the children of promise in chapter 4 of his letter to Galatians. Paul indirectly mentioned Sarah in an allegory about the son of a slave woman and the son of a free woman. The Apostle Peter also cited Sarah as an example of a godly wife in his first epistle. Finally, the author of the letter Aus Hebreus included Sarah in the Hall of Fame of heroes of the faith of the past. If you enjoyed learning about Sarah in the Bible, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.